Hey guys, tonight we're going somewhere a little bit softer, somewhere damp with the smell of rain and salt, somewhere where stories drift like mist between mountains and sea. You've probably seen a rainbow before, on your way home after a storm, or sneaking through the clouds after a long gray morning, but tonight, I'll tell you how the Maori once explained those colors with a love story so beautiful that even the sky couldn't stay neutral. Honestly, if you tried to live inside this story with the weather flipping between rain, fog, and blinding sunlight, you probably wouldn't survive 5 minutes. You'd be drenched, sunburned, and confused all at once. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And tell me where you're listening from, what time it is for you. Maybe it's past midnight where you are. Maybe the rain is tapping softly at your window too. Now, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum. And let's ease into tonight's journey together. The sound comes first, the way rain loosens its grip on the roof, drop by drop, until all that remains is the gentle hiss of the wet earth breathing. You pull your blanket closer, feel the cool air pressing against your cheeks, and in that stillness, you hear the whisper of another world. A place where each storm had a reason, where each color in the sky had a name and a story. They say that after one particular rain, long ago, when the islands of Aotearoa were still young, the Maori people gathered under the clearing sky. The horizon glowed like a bruise fading into light. And then, just as the last droplets fell, a ribbon of colors arched over the valley. It wasn't just light, they said. It was a message, a trace of love left between worlds. You lean into the sound of that story as it begins. Because in the Maori way, everything that breathes or moves has a heartbeat. Mountains, rivers, even the mist that curls at dawn. The world was never silent. It only waited for someone to listen. In that world, there was a woman made of mist and breath. Her name was Hinepūkohurangi, the Maiden of the Mist. She was said to live where the forests met the clouds, her hair woven from vapor, her voice like the hush of a lake before sunrise. She moved only when the world was quiet enough to hear her, when the light was soft and the air was still. And there was a man, a mortal, a warrior known for his courage and his laughter that carried over the mountains. He wasn't a chief, not a god, but something in between. Someone who believed that love could make the impossible real. One morning, before the sun had fully woken, Uenuku walked into the forest, still heavy with fog. The dew clung to his skin like silver, and the trees were wrapped in white veils. That's when he saw her, not clearly at first, just the shimmer of a shape between the trees, like breath caught in the light. And when he spoke, his voice trembled not with fear, but with wonder. The story says she smiled, or at least the mist rippled in a way that felt like a smile, and from that moment, Uenuku's heart no longer belonged to the human world. The Maori elders used to tell it around fires, when the rain had just stopped. Their voices low and rhythmic, like the pulse of the tide. You can almost hear them now. That deep, soothing murmur carried through generations. They'd say that Hinepūkohurangi came down each morning to meet him, only when the air was cool, before sunlight could burn her away. She'd sit beside him in the soft mist, their words hidden from the waking world. He'd tell her about the hunts, the tides, the laughter of his people. She'd tell him about the mountains breathing, about the way the rivers remember every footprint that's ever touched them. You can almost see it, the soft silver light around them, his hand reaching into the air where hers almost is. A love that lives between touch and dream. And if you think about it, that's how most human love stories begin, with something impossible that still feels real enough to chase. The Maori storytellers never rushed this part. They'd let the sound of rain fade, let the fire pop, and they'd remind you that love, especially the kind that crosses worlds, always comes with a warning. But for now, the story stays gentle. Uenuku and Hinepūkohurangi live in their secret rhythm. Morning after morning, the people of the village start to notice how he rises early and smiles at empty air. Some whisper that he's gone mad. Others say the gods have chosen him for something rare. One morning, when the fog doesn't come, he waits and waits. The forest feels emptier than it ever has. You can almost feel his chest tighten, that quiet panic that comes when you lose something you didn't think you could. He goes to the elders, asking what it means when the mist no longer visits. They say nothing, just look at the sky and nod. Because in every old story, love that crosses boundaries is fragile. And then, another day, another storm, she returns. The mist flows down the valley, silver and alive, and he runs into it, laughing like a child. She tells him that she cannot stay, that their worlds are not meant to meet. But he doesn't listen. Of course he doesn't. People in love never listen when the world tells them no. Let me come with you, he says. You wouldn't survive, she whispers. No one made of flesh can live among the clouds. And he laughs. That soft, foolish, human laugh, and says something like, then I'll build my own way to the sky. That's how it always begins, isn't it? A love story so big it challenges the rules of nature itself. The storytellers would lean in here, voice dropping to a murmur. They'd tell you that from this moment, the seasons themselves began to shift. The rain fell heavier, the winds turned uncertain, even the gods leaned closer to watch, because sometimes, one person's love can change the weather. They'd tell you the strange part, that after this, villagers began to notice something new. When Hinepūkohurangi left, she didn't just vanish. A faint arc of color lingered in the air, shimmering between sunlight and mist. It was faint, almost invisible, but real enough that those who saw it knew something divine had passed through. That was the first rainbow. The bridge between a god and a man, drawn not by light, but by longing. And that's where the Māori say it began. Not as science, not as refraction or optics, but as proof that love could bend even light to its will. You shift under your blanket, half smiling, half wishing such stories were true, or maybe, deep down, knowing they still are, because maybe every rainbow you've ever seen was a reminder of them, of a promise whispered between mist and sunlight. And as the sound of rain finally stops, you can almost hear Hinep carried softly on the wind, saying something like, "Love doesn't end when we disappear. It lingers, like light in the air." You can still hear the rain somewhere behind you, a faint hush like breath over water. The sky feels cleaner now, the kind of blue that only appears when a storm has finally confessed everything it was holding in. And as you walk further into this story, the mist begins to lift. The land of Aotearoa stretches before you, mountains sharp as folded paper, rivers moving like strands of light, and forests that breathe. You feel the damp soil under your feet, as though the island itself is awake. They say this was the age when the gods still visited, when thunder was a language and rainbows were veins of the sky. It was also when Hinepūkohurangi first descended, the woman of the mist, whose name carries the taste of cool air. You imagine her forming out of vapor, her body not made of flesh but of dew that clings to your eyelashes before it vanishes. She doesn't walk, she drifts, each step a whisper. And somewhere beneath that soft veil of clouds lives Uenuku, a mortal warrior who wakes before dawn each day. You picture him standing beside a stream, the air thick with fog, his breath mingling with the mist, as if even nature is conspiring to hide him. His tattoos, carved with chisel and pigment, mark his skin like constellations. Back then, Tamoko was not just decoration, it was history worn on the body, a genealogy written in lines and spirals. You can almost feel the sting of the ink, the steady hand of the artist. There's something about him that doesn't fit in the ordinary world, too restless, too awake. The elders say he laughs louder than the surf, but sometimes he stares too long at the horizon, as if waiting for something to arrive. And one morning, it does. At first he thinks the mist is playing tricks again, how it moves like smoke, then like silk, then suddenly, like a woman turning her head. The first time he sees Hinepūkohurangi, it's not her face, he remembers, but the sound, the soft echo of water dripping from the trees when she speaks. Her voice isn't in the air, it's in the air itself. You step closer in your mind, into that breathless stillness where two worlds touch. She looks at him, curious, amused, maybe a little sad. You can tell that she already knows how this will end. Gods always do, but for a moment, she stays. She asks him who he is, why he walks alone in her forest before dawn. He answers in a way that makes her laugh. He says he's hunting mist. Technically true. If you count love as a kind of trap, they talk until the first threads of light break through the treetops. That's when she begins to fade. You can almost see the sunlight pressing against her shoulders like warm hands. Pulling her back to the sky, he reaches out instinctively, fingers passing through the vapor. And in that brief shimmer, he feels the coolness of her, like morning rain touching skin. You know that kind of feeling? When something impossible brushes against your world and then disappears, leaving you both awed and slightly offended. From that morning onward, Uenuku rises before everyone else. The villagers joke about it. They say he's trying to outsmart the sun, and honestly, he kind of is. Every dawn he walks into the forest, waiting for her to return, and she does. Hinepūkohurangi drifts down again, cautious but drawn to him. She sits beside him while the sky is still pale and blue. They talk about strange things, how mortals measure time, how gods never need to, how the mountains remember every echo, how the rivers carry the same water back and forth like letters never opened. When she laughs, the forest trembles with dew. When she falls silent, even the birds hold their breath. Some say that this was the first time a god fell in love with a mortal on Aotearoa soil. Others say it had happened before, but never like this. Never with someone who refused to bow. The Māori have many stories of love between the divine and human, sometimes tragic, sometimes tender, but this one stands out because it didn't begin with fear. It began with curiosity, and historians still debate whether Hinepūkohurangi was once a human woman, who became a goddess after death, or whether she was always divine, born from the morning clouds. Some even argue that Uenuku was not a man at all, but the personification of a rainbow spirit that later took human form. But honestly, sitting here listening, you realize it doesn't really matter. What matters is that for a few mornings in history, the sky and the earth met halfway. You imagine them again, him tracing shapes in the fog, her laughter echoing like silver chimes. You'd think love would be easier when one of you can literally float. But no, every morning ends the same way. She fades when the light grows strong, leaving him with nothing but the scent of rain on his skin. There's an old belief, rarely mentioned outside of Māori villages, that if you breathe deeply enough into morning mist, you can borrow the goddess's breath, that faint sweetness before the sun burns it away. Maybe that's why people used to walk barefoot in dew, not for health, but for remembrance. And you, sitting there in the quiet, can almost feel what Uenuku must have felt. That slow ache of knowing something beautiful is temporary, yet waking every day to chase it anyway. It's romantic, yes, but also exhausting. You'd definitely need stronger coffee. But Uenuku doesn't stop. Each morning becomes a ceremony. He speaks her name into the mist before she arrives. A ritual of faith. His friends think he's talking to himself, and technically, they're not wrong. Still, you have to admire him. Most of us can barely text someone twice without a reply before giving up. He waited through seasons. Sometimes she stays longer, letting him glimpse her more clearly. Eyes like stormlight, hair that moves even when there's no wind. She touches the carvings on his arms, tracing each line as though reading his story. For a moment, you almost forget she isn't solid. But love makes people reckless. One morning, when she leaves faster than usual, he calls after her. His voice cracks through the valley like thunder, echoing against the cliffs. It's the kind of shout that pulls something awake in the heavens. The next day, the mist hesitates before coming down just a little. It curls around the trees, unsure. She appears again, but quieter, sadder. She warns him that the light is watching, that the day itself is jealous of the hours she spends with him. You can almost hear her whisper it. The dawn grows curious. He laughs, brushing it off. But deep down, he knows. The sky isn't infinite after all, it has rules. The elders in his village start noticing strange patterns in the weather. Clouds forming too early, rain falling only on his house. One night, lightning crawls across the horizon, even though there's no storm. It's as if the world is beginning to notice something it shouldn't. And so, under that restless sky, the story begins to tremble. You lean closer, already feeling the shift. The light is coming. The love between mist and man is about to be tested by the sun itself. The world holds its breath just like you do, waiting for the next dawn. The night folds into pale silver light. The world outside your window feels soft again, almost fragile, like breath-forming clouds on a winter morning. You can almost smell the dampness of the earth's sweet green, and still humming with the echo of rain. And there, in the story still unfolding around you, morning is coming to the mountains of Aotearoa. You walk with Uenuku, now the mortal warrior, who once believed he could love a goddess and be loved in return. The mist moves like silk through the valleys, curling between fern fronds and around your ankles. You can taste the cool of it on your tongue. It feels alive. You don't just see it too, feel as though it's listening. Each dawn. Before the first light spilled over the ocean, she came Hinepūkohurangi, the mist maiden. Her body shimmered in layers of white and silver, like clouds that had forgotten which sky they belonged to. She stepped gently from the forests, where the dew had not yet awakened, and as the first birds began to stir, she found her way to Uenuku's hut. You can imagine the quiet, the low crackle of dying embers, the soft breathing of two beings from different worlds. Uenuku would wake to find her lying beside him, her hair damp against his arm, her eyes glowing faintly like moonlight trapped in water. You wonder if he ever dared to move, afraid she might dissolve into vapor at the slightest breath. Outside, the world was always changing. The Maori people rose with the dawn, tending fires, preparing for fishing or hunting. But Uenuku's hut remained veiled in mist. The neighbors whispered. They said, "He's speaking to a spirit," and you can almost hear the chuckles, low and half afraid. Back then, people respected what they feared. There's a strange comfort in knowing that across every culture, someone, somewhere, fell in love with something impossible. And you, listening now, probably know that kind of love too, the kind that makes time dissolve, that turns nights into minutes. But there was a rule, one small thing, easily forgotten, easily broken. Hinepūkohurangi had warned Uenuku, "You must not tell anyone about me. Not your friends, not your family, not even the wind." Her voice, they say, was like the hush before dawn. Uenuku promised. Of course, he promised. All lovers promise things in the dark, and for a while it worked. Each morning she came with the mist. Each day she vanished with the rising sun. He waited, always counting the hours, until the cool veil returned. Sometimes he would wander the riverbanks, searching for traces of her little droplets, clinging to leaves like tiny stars. The elders of the village noticed his strange joy. He smiled more but spoke less. He ate little, and his eyes always searched the horizon. One day, one of them asked, "What have you found that makes your heart lighter than the wind?" And Uenuku hesitated. Because love, when it's forbidden, becomes heavier to carry. You can hide it for a while, but it starts to spill out through your eyes, through your breath. So he smiled and said, "Nothing, just the morning fog. It keeps me company." That might have been enough. But you know how humans are, we can't keep magic a secret for long. There's an odd detail. Historians still debate. Some versions of the legend say Hinepūkohurangi was not the only mist goddess. Others believe she was a guardian of a sacred lake whose surface mirrored the heavens. In both stories, she represents transition, the space between worlds. Even now, scholars argue whether her visit symbolized spiritual connection or the Mbori reverence for the natural cycles of day and night. But to Uenuku she was not a symbol. She was breath and laughter and warmth in his arms. And so, each morning, he rose before dawn and waited by the window. You can imagine him sitting there, hair wet from the dew, whispering to the horizon, "Come back." Then, one morning, when the mist thickened unusually early, she came laughing. She said she had brought the scent of the mountain flowers, that she had stolen a moment from the gods just to be there with him. Her laughter filled the room, soft and full, and you can almost hear it now, the kind of sound that makes even the air pause to listen. Uenuku reached out and brushed her cheek. Feeling his fingers pass through a wisp of her being, he thought, this is how dreams must feel before they wake. But time in their world was fragile. The sun was always waiting. Each visit, Hinepūkohurangi warned, when the birds sing too loud, I must go. If I stay past the first light, I'll never find my way back. He never questioned it. He believed her because when you love someone made of mist, you don't demand proof. There's something beautiful about that, isn't there? The way trust feels both pure and foolish at once. Like replying to an email marked urgent but knowing it's a scam, you'll do it anyway, because hope always overrides logic. Still, as days became weeks, Uenuku grew restless. He wanted her not just in the early hours, not just as a whisper in fog, but under the bright sun, where everyone could see. He wanted the world to know he wasn't a madman talking to clouds. You can almost see the tension build like steam under a lid. Every time she left, he tried to memorize her shape before she faded, hoping one day he could paint her, or carve her into wood. Some legends say he did carve her image small and hidden, a token he kept wrapped in flax. Others say he carved nothing because he feared offending the gods of the mist. The Maori world was one where boundaries mattered. The land, the sky, the sea, they weren't just places, they were relatives. To trespass between them without permission was to break the sacred balance. And yet, love makes trespassers of us all. So every morning continued the same mist, laughter, warmth, vanishing. Until one dawn, when Uenuku didn't wake in time, the sun rose before she could leave, and her body flickered, trembling like glass in sunlight. She vanished too soon, leaving only the scent of wet earth behind. That was the morning the whispers grew louder. The villagers laughed, saying, he's been kissing the fog again, and poor Uenuku sat outside, staring at the sky, waiting for her to return. You sit with him for a moment in your imagination, feeling the quiet ache of uncertainty, because you know what it's like, don't you? Waiting for a message that never comes, watching the last scene online, but no reply. Humans haven't changed that much, and when the next dawn came, so did she. She smiled softly, but her glow was dimmer. They doubt you, she said, and doubt breaks spells. He took her hands, desperate. Then let me tell them you're real. Her eyes turned pale like smoke. If you tell them, I can never return. The moment hung heavy between them, like the world holding its breath. Outside, the first bird called Dot, and somewhere deep inside you, a quiet voice wonders if you were him. Could you keep such a love a secret forever? Because love, especially the kind that defies heaven and earth, always demands a choice. And that choice, well, it's what shapes the rest of their story. The days have been kind to you, lately warm, slow, and full of the kind of light that sticks to your skin like honey. But tonight, as you lie there and listen, the story shifts. The mist grows thinner, and the first edges of jealousy begin to glimmer like sharp glass in the sunlight. You're still walking beside Uenuku. He doesn't see you. Of course, he's too wrapped up in his own heartbeat. Every morning has been the same rhythm. The hush before dawn, the cool breath of fog, and then her Hinepūkohurangi, appearing like a dream that remembers it shouldn't exist. And each time, the sun rises a little earlier, as though even daylight has grown curious about their secret. You can feel a tooth of tension in the air. The first rays creep across the treetops like uninvited guests. Uenuku squints toward the horizon, and you can almost hear his thoughts. What if she didn't have to leave? What if the morning didn't take her from me? He laughs softly, but it isn't joy this time. It's that uneasy laughter you let out when something you love feels too fragile. Like when your phone battery drops to 1%, just as you're about to send a confession text you want to freeze time. But you can tee. Hinepūkohurangi moves beside him, her form faint in the growing light. She runs her fingers along the woven mat, each thread shimmering with dew. The sun is watching, she whispers. Her voice carries the hush of 1,000 mornings. I must go. Uenuku doesn't answer right away. He only looks at her, way her edges blur, the way the rising warmth begins to dissolve her shape. Then stay before it wakes, he says. But you know how the world works. Light always finds its way in. The old Maori stories say that dawn itself was a jealous child of the gods, always eager to claim what belonged to the night. And perhaps that morning, the dawn decided to test its power. The light crept faster, spilling across the sky with a kind of mischievous hunger, turning mist into steam. Uenuku reached out, grasping at her hand, but his fingers passed through air. It was like holding a breath, like trying to cup fog between your palms. She smiled sadly. You can't hold what was never meant to stay, she murmured, before her voice thinned into the wind. You can imagine how quiet it became afterward, the kind of silence that presses against your ears. Even the forest held its breath. That day, the villagers noticed something odd. The mountain remained wrapped in mist, long after sunrise, as though reluctant to let go. The fishermen at the river mouth said they saw shapes moving in the haze, figures, walking hand in hand above the water. Some claimed it was the spirits of lovers from old times, others said it was just tricks of the light. Historians still debate whether these tales came from actual atmospheric phenomena. The Mbori were expert observers of weather or weather. They were allegories for the fragility of balance between human desire and the natural order. But to the people then, it was real. The world spoke in color, wind, and vapor. You walk through that mist again in your mind. It feels cool against your skin, but something about it has changed. Carries weight now. You realize that jealousy doesn't always roar. Sometimes, it whispers, wrapping around love like a gentle vine, until it tightens. That night, Uenuku couldn't sleep. The fire in his hut had gone cold, but the thought of her burned hotter than embers. He sat staring at the doorway where she used to appear, and in the darkness he said aloud, "Why must light take you from me?" No one answered, of course, except maybe the gods, because they heard him. They always do. In Mbori tradition, the boundaries between the human world and the divine were delicate, crossed only through dreams, rituals, or deep emotion. Uenuku had already crossed it through love, but now he crossed again through doubt, and that, as every myth warns, is where cracks begin. The next morning he woke earlier than usual. He waited before the mist had even gathered, as though his longing could summon it faster. When it came, she appeared again, as gentle and radiant as ever. But something in her eyes had changed. "You called to the gods," she said quietly. He frowned. "I called only for you." She looked away. "The gods hear what you mean, not what you say." You can almost feel the sting of that. It's the kind of line people remember centuries later. The way she said it, calm and sad, like she already knew what was coming. Still, they talked. They held on to the thin moments they had, stretching each heartbeat as if it could last forever. She told him of the lands above the clouds, where rivers ran silver and trees sang when the wind passed. He told her of his people, of feasts and laughter, of songs sung around fires. Then, somewhere between laughter and silence, he asked the question that changed everything. "If I went where you go," he said, "would you stay with me then?" She shook her head, her form rippling faintly. "The worlds are not meant to mix. You belong to the day, I to the dawn." "But dawn becomes day," he argued, "only for a moment." And there it was, the ache that always lives beneath love. The truth that every sunrise has an ending written into it. He looked at her and thought, there must be a way to stop time. That night, he began to imagine it. Plans forming half-wild ideas. What if he could hide her from the sun? What if he built a shelter strong enough to keep out light itself? You can see how it happens, how a heart so full of devotion begins to twist into possession. The Maori had a saying, "Kote aroha he kaimota nu," love is a hunger that never ends. Uenuku's hunger grew. You might laugh softly here, because you've seen this before in old movies. In your own text messages maybe. That moment, when love becomes a puzzle you're trying to solve, rather than a song you're just supposed to listen to. Humans always want to fix what's fleeting. By the third morning, Uenuku had stopped waiting patiently. He was pacing the hut, whispering to himself, "If I could only hold her past sunrise." He began to gather things: woven flax mats, feathers, pieces of driftwood, even stones dark enough to trap shadow. Outside, the mist thickened, sensing his intent. The gods watched too. In Maori cosmology, the divine realm often warned mortals through signs: birds flying against the wind, trees bending the wrong way, sudden gusts before dawn. That morning, every warning came, and Uenuku ignored them all. You lean closer, drawn into the quiet tension of it, the way love teeters on the edge between faith and folly. When Hinepūkohurangi arrived again, she smiled at first, but the air inside the hut felt different, still, expectant. "What are you doing, my love?" she asked. He didn't answer. He only took her hand, held it tight, and whispered, "Stay." The sun, already rising beyond the hills, spilled its first light. The mist trembled, and in that trembling, something fragile began to break. Because love, when mixed with fear, always calls the day too soon. The air that morning feels too still. Even the birds outside your window seem hesitant, their songs caught somewhere between curiosity and warning. You can almost taste the damp chill as Uenuku sits inside his small nui, the woven walls breathing with the mist that slides between the gaps. Hinepūkohurangi hasn't yet arrived, and the silence feels thick, like holding your breath underwater. You can imagine him, this mortal warrior, staring at the fading vapors curling around his hands. Every dawn she had come to him, soft, silver, and fleeting. Every dawn she had vanished when the first thread of sunlight spilled over the hills. But love, when it grows too deep, rarely accepts the rules it's given. So he decides today, he won't let her leave. He builds his plan with trembling hands and an unsteady heart. Using the flax ropes and fine nets from his people's canoes, he weaves something meant not for fish, but for mist. The elders would call it madness. You might call it desperate innovation. You know, like when you try to fix your Wi-Fi? By punching the router, thinking it's genius for 2 minutes before the guilt kicks in. As he works, the morning fog drifts low and slow. It clings to his shoulders, whispering things only broken lovers can hear. His fingers smell of damp earth and sea salt. The threads shimmer faintly as, though the mist itself lends its breath to the weaving. When Hinepūkohurangi finally comes, she glides through the open doorway like a sigh. Her form is almost transparent now, her laughter echoing as if it bounces between worlds. You can feel how fragile that moment is, how dangerous it becomes. When love dares to grasp something meant to pass through your hands, he welcomes her with the tenderness of a man drowning in devotion. They talk about the stars, the dreams of the forest, and the way the wind always seems to hum her name. You can almost hear her voice soft, musical, like raindrops brushing against glass. But beneath his smile, Uenuku hides the ache of every sunrise that took her away. When she leans close, the mist wraps around him, cool and gentle. He hesitates for a heartbeat. Then he acts. The net falls. The air stiffens. And for the first time the goddess cannot return to the sky. Her eyes widen, not in anger, not yet, but in heartbreak. The room fills with a shimmering haze that trembles like a frightened bird. You sense her realization, her disbelief that the one she loved most would chain her to earth. Uenuku pleads with her. His voice cracks between apologies and promises. Stay, he whispers. If I hold you here, maybe dawn will forget to rise. But the world, cruel and constant, doesn't bend for love. The sun pushes over the horizon anyway. Its light spills through the doorway like a blade, slicing through the last veils of shadow. It touches her hair first, then her skin, and she screams, not from pain, but from loss. The warmth burns away her mist body thread by thread. You can see her dissolve, half goddess, half sorrow, until only the faintest shimmer lingers above his trembling hands. The net, once glowing, turns gray. Outside, the village begins to stir. Children laugh, unaware of the divine tragedy unfolding just beyond their fences. Somewhere, a rooster crows, because even in myth, roosters always have bad timing. When the last of the fog escapes through the roof, Uenuku falls to his knees. The silence that follows is not peaceful. It's the silence of an empty room that once held laughter. You've probably known that kind of silence that seems to echo louder than any noise. For days, Uenuku doesn't eat. He walks the fields, where the mist used to dance, calling her name until his voice cracks into whispers. People say that sometimes, when he sleeps, his breath turns cold, and droplets of dew form on his hair, as if she still tries to touch him. But here's the strange thing. Ancient stories say the gods were watching. They saw a mortal daring to bind something divine. Some claimed it was hubris, others whispered it was bravery. The elders argued over it for generations. You know how historians still debate whether the Trojan horse was real? Well, Māori storytellers had their own endless debate about Uenuku. Was it an act of love, or the first sin of possessiveness? Either way, the gods decided to act. They silenced the mountains for 3 nights. The rivers turned dark with rain that refused to stop. The people, confused and afraid, believed the sky itself was mourning. One old chant says that Hinepūkohurangi's tears became the mists that never leave the valleys of autumn. If you ever wake early on a cold morning and see the fog rising thick over the hills, you might just be seeing her searching for her lost lover. Another legend less known, whispered only in certain Iwai, claims that Uenuku's hut remained wet forever, even when fires burned inside it. The moisture refused to leave, clinging to his walls like guilt that won't dry. You sit there, listening, and maybe you feel a tiny ache too, because deep down, you understand that kind of love. The kind that wants to keep, to hold, to never let go. But you also know, don't you, that love trapped too tightly turns to sorrow. Uenuku's story echoes through every jealous heart since. Maybe that's why even now, when someone says if you love something, set it free, they don't realize they're echoing an idea older than any poem or proverb, older than the rainbow itself. By the time the sun climbs high and the mists are gone, all that remains is a man sitting before an empty net. His hands still smell of flax. The world moves on, birds sing, wind plays with the grass, but Uenuku stays still, caught in the pause between mourning and regret. You can almost hear him whisper, if I had trusted the dawn, maybe she would have stayed. But the dawn doesn't answer. It never does. And somewhere above, high beyond the fading blue, the gods murmur among themselves, deciding what to do with a love that dared to touch eternity. The air in your room feels heavier now, doesn't it? You can almost see the shimmer of mist curling at the edge of your lamp, almost hear her voice in the hum of your fan. Don't worry, it's just the night air. Or maybe, just maybe, it's Hinepūkohurangi passing through once more, searching for a heart that would have let her go. Because even now, after centuries, some loves never truly fade. The village wakes to a strange silence. You can almost hear it, the kind that feels heavy, as if the air itself is holding its breath. No bird songs, no rustle of leaves, not even the distant hum of the sea. Only the soft drip of rain sliding down the thatched roofs. Again and again, endless. You step outside with Uenuku. Though you're not really there, you're just watching. Like a quiet ghost in someone else's sorrow. The world is gray. The kind of gray that doesn't move, doesn't shimmer, doesn't promise a clearing sky. The mist that once danced and played over the hills has vanished. Hinepūkohurangi is gone, but the rain hasn't stopped since she left. It falls without pause, like the sky forgot how to close its eyes. The villagers whisper that something divine has been disturbed. The rivers swell, and the air tastes faintly of salt and grief. Even the dogs refuse to bark. You can feel the guilt radiating from Uenuku like heat. He sits near his fire, though the wood barely burns. Each spark that rises hisses and dies in the damp air. He hasn't spoken much since that morning. His people leave food outside his hut, but it spoils before he touches it. Some say the gods cursed him. Others say the curse is simply knowing he caused it himself. When night falls, thunder murmurs. In the distance, not the kind that shakes the earth, but the kind that sounds like someone sighing behind the clouds. You imagine the gods talking to one another, their voices rumbling through the rain. The old stories say Tuiramstia, the god of winds and storms, is angry. His sister's child has been trapped, then lost, and the balance between heaven and earth has been broken. Lightning splits the horizon like a crack in the sky's heart. The rain answers with heavier tears. You'd think Uenuku would take shelter, but no. He walks out into the storm, letting the water soak him through. Maybe he believes if he stands there long enough, she'll come back. Hidden in the downpour, he raises his face to the clouds, whispers her name, again and again. But only thunder answers, low, distant, disapproving. The people begin to worry. Their crops drown. The river eats the paths between homes. They gather at the meeting house, speaking in hushed tones, as though the rain might overhear them. An elder, old enough that even the wrinkles on her hands seem to remember older rains, says this storm isn't ordinary. She says when a god weeps, the earth always pays the price. One brave hunter suggests building a shrine to calm the sky. Another proposes burning herbs to send prayers upward, but the elder shakes her head. The gods, she murmurs, are not angry with us. They are silent because they are listening. It's such a haunting thought, isn't it? That silence isn't absence-side's judgment. Those who still argue over the details believe this part of the legend marks the Maori interpretation of natural climate shifts long before modern records. The endless rain, the floods, the strange mists, been memories of real storms, woven into myth to give meaning to chaos. But others insist the silence of the gods was something spiritual, not meteorological. Either way, you get the feeling both are right. Because grief has a way of bending even the weather. Uenuku's grief becomes the rhythm of the days. He starts talking to the sky as if it's a living thing. At dawn, he pleads. At noon, he apologizes. By dusk, he's bargaining, offering his voice, his strength, even his life. If only the rain will bring her back. You know that kind of desperation, don't you? The kind where you try to trade with the impossible, as if the universe might take pity on a good offer. But the rain doesn't bargain. On the seventh day, lightning strikes the forest beyond the ridge. Flames rise but never spread. The villagers see this and fall to their knees, thinking it's a sign. And maybe it is. Because after that night, the thunder stops. The sky grows eerily quiet again. No rain, no sun, just thick, waiting clouds that refuse to move. The air tastes different than metallic, expectant. You know that moment before a storm, when your skin tingles, as if charged by something unseen. That's how it feels now. The silence becomes unbearable, and the villagers start avoiding Uenuku. Some fear he's cursed. Others pity him. He doesn't blame them. He barely hears them. All he can think about is the sound of her voice. The way she used to arrive with the dawn, her laughter caught between dew and breath. He starts leaving offerings near the hill's flowers, feathers, polished stones, anything that once reminded him of her. Nothing answers. Until one morning, something strange happens. The mist returns, but it's not her. It's heavier, colder, and it doesn't move like before. It just sits over the fields, thick and suffocating. The people say it's the breath of the gods. Watching him, they say they've seen figures in the fog tall, bright, shifting like reflections in water. One child claims she saw a woman's face in the clouds, eyes full of sorrow, vanishing when she blinked. Uenuku hears this and runs toward the hills, bare feet splashing through puddles, shouting her name. His voice echoes, then fades into the gray, and for a long, still moment, even the rain holds back to listen. He waits there, soaked, trembling, until he realizes the truth. Hinepūkohurangi hasn't he come back. What he feels is the god's silence pressing down like a hand. Not anger, not cruelty. Just a reminder that some doors, once closed, don't reopen. You can almost feel that weight yourself the moment you realize an apology might be too late. It's one of those truths that doesn't belong to mythology at all, but to everyone who's ever loved too much, too wrongly, or too late. The rain finally stops on the 10th night. The sky clears, revealing stars that look sharper than before, like they've been washed clean. The villagers cheer softly, relieved, but Uenuku can't sleep. The silence feels louder than the storm ever was, and though no one says it aloud, they all sense that the world has shifted a little, that the balance between gods and mortals has been disturbed. Some even whisper that Hinepūkohurangi's kin are planning something. that her absence will not go unanswered. You lean back, listening to the quiet hum in your own room. It's funny, isn't it? How stories from half a world away still sound familiar. How even gods seem to struggle with heartbreak. Outside your window, maybe there's rain tapping faintly against the glass. Maybe it hasn't stopped yet. Or maybe, somewhere beyond the clouds, the gods are still silent, waiting for someone, anyone, to finally listen. The nights grow longer now. You can almost feel Uenuku pacing beneath the stars, his heartbeat echoing through the damp earth, through the trees, through the breath of wind that brushes against your cheek as if time itself remembers his sorrow. The silence of the gods still lingers over the land, heavy and cold. No voice answers his prayers. The mist that once curled lovingly around his home no longer visits. And you, standing in his place, feel that unbearable quiet, the kind that only comes after you've done something you can't undo. Uenuku wanders from his village before dawn. He doesn't take food or water, only the faint shimmer of regret to guide him. The people whisper behind him, saying he's lost his mind, that no mortal can chase the sky. You might agree it sounds ridiculous, right? A man trying to find a goddess in the clouds. Even your GPS would give up halfway through that journey. But grief makes strange travelers of us all, and Uenuku walks on, following the trails where mist used to kiss the ground. Each step feels heavier than the last. The forest looms ahead, ancient and alive, its roots twisting like sleeping serpents. You smell wet bark, moss, and the faint sweetness of fern, the kind of scent that clings to your clothes for days. In Maori stories, every part of nature has a spirit, a heartbeat. So when the trees creak above him, it isn't just the wind, it's memory, watching him pass. He crosses rivers that shimmer with pale light, moonlight reflected on restless water. Sometimes he stops and sees her face there, fleeting, dissolving with every ripple. He speaks to her softly, promising that he'll make things right. And sometimes, if you listen close enough, the air hums back. Maybe it's her, maybe it's just loneliness playing tricks. The historians still debate whether Uenuku's journey really happened or if it was a metaphor for penance. The way humans invent quests when their hearts are too broken to stay still. There's a story, an odd one, that says he met travelers from another tribe, who claimed to know the path to the heavens. They told him of a mountain where the clouds sit low enough to touch. If you climb high enough, they said, the gods might notice you. Of course, they also said, the last person who tried was struck by lightning halfway up, but Uenuku didn't care. He thanked them and walked toward the mountains anyway. Sometimes love makes you forget about lightning. The climb begins slowly. You can feel the cold wrapping around his ankles, then his knees, then his chest, like invisible vines. Each breath becomes visible in the frosty air. Birds don't sing here. Even the wind seems hesitant. It's as if the mountain itself is listening. Uenuku prays aloud, each word trembling. Let me see her once more. Let me undo my pride. His voice cracks, but he keeps going, gripping roots, pressing bare feet into soil that seems to shift beneath him. Halfway up, the mist returns. Not soft this time, but sharp, slicing through the air in waves. It wraps around his arms and face, cool and heavy, whispering fragments of the past. You held me, and I vanished. The sound almost drives him to his knees. But he keeps climbing, because regret, too, can be a kind of devotion. You can imagine his exhaustion. His skin is streaked with mud, his hair tangled. If he were alive today, someone would have made a whole reality show out of him. Estremi Heartbreak Climbing to the Gods edition. You'd binge it. Admit it. But back then, there were no cameras, only legends. And those have a longer memory. At the mountain's peak, Uenuku finally stops. The clouds swirl around him, glowing faintly with color. Not rainbow yet, just suggestion, like watercolor bleeding on parchment. The air hums with energy, and you can sense it too, that threshold between worlds. The gods are near. Or maybe it's just altitude sickness. Hard to tell at this point. He kneels and places his hands on the cold rock. I have taken what was not mine, he says, and I have learned that love cannot be locked away. The words hang in the mist like tiny stars. For the first time since she left, the world listens. Then something curious happens. The wind stills. The mountain, the forest, even the rivers below fall silent, as though the entire land holds its breath. Uenuku looks up. There's a shimmer above him, faint but growing, a bridge of mist reaching from earth to sky. He steps forward, unsure if it's real. The bridge ripples like the surface of water, translucent, trembling. He presses his foot onto it, and it holds. Now. This is where things get mysterious. Some say he climbed that bridge and vanished into the clouds, never to be seen again. Others insist he fell, that the gods rejected him. But one version, the one whispered when fires burn low, says that he kept climbing until he disappeared into the heavens. And that's where the first rainbow began. Of course, that explanation sounds poetic, and scholars argue over whether it's meant to describe atmospheric refraction or divine forgiveness. The Māori, though, didn't separate science and spirit for them. The rainbow wasn't just a trick of light. It was a pulse, a living reminder that love could bend across realms. You stand there with him, at the edge of sky and sorrow, feeling the first warmth of dawn touch your face. The mist begins to thin. The mountain below glows with soft gold. And for the first time, you realize how fragile regret looks when bathed in morning light, almost beautiful, almost forgiven. He takes another step onto that shimmering path. The air hums louder now, vibrating through your bones. The sky itself seems to open, revealing colors so faint and tender you'd think they might vanish if you breathed too hard. Maybe they're meant to beauty, after all. Often requires impermanence. Before he disappears completely, Uenuku looks back, just once. The wind carries his whisper downward, soft enough to blend with the rustle of ferns. If she hears me, tell her I am coming home. And maybe she does hear. Somewhere, far above the clouds, the mists begin to gather again, drawn by something more enduring than distance. The sky shivers. Waiting? You can almost sense what comes next. The merging of light and vapor, the birth of color from grief. But not yet. Not quite yet. For now, there's just silence. The kind that feels like the pause between heartbeats. The kind that tells you something extraordinary is about to happen. Something only the gods and the broken-hearted truly understand. You take a slow breath. The mountain exhales with you. And together, you wait for the sky to remember how to love again. The forest breathes differently when night comes. You can feel it, the air thicker, the leaves whispering secrets in tones that no human language can quite hold. Somewhere far below the mountain path you left behind, the trees stretch endlessly, their roots weaving a kind of memory that hums under your feet. You step softly, but the forest knows you're here. It always does. You hear it faint at first, like the sigh of an old flute, voices drifting between trunks wrapped in moss. They rise and fall, fading into the mist. You can't tell if they're human or something older, something that has been waiting a very long time to be heard. Maybe it's just the wind playing games. Or maybe, as the Mbori used to say, it's the Wairua, the spirits of the forest, whispering to anyone foolish or brave enough to listen. You pause near a fallen tree, slick with dew. The bark glows faintly with fungus light, pale green and trembling. The smell of damp soil is rich, the kind of scent that sticks to your hands. You lean closer, and that's when you hear the first story. Not from another mouth, but from the forest itself. It speaks of others who once searched for the line between mortal and divine lovers, wanderers, dreamers who thought they could climb into the sky. There was Rona, who insulted the moon and was taken there forever. There was Mui, the trickster, who tried to capture the sun so the days would last longer. And now, there's you, or Uenuku, depending on who's telling the story, chasing mist and memory through the darkness. You smile faintly, because humans have always been like this. Stubborn romantics with bad timing. If you had a smartwatch right now, it would probably tell you to consider resting after hiking through mythical terrain. But Uenuku doesn't rest. His breath forms small clouds in the cold night air, merging briefly with the mist, as if she might notice and come back. He walks deeper. The forest opens into a clearing, and there, the air feels different, sharper, charged. You sense something waiting, ancient and half-forgot. The moonlight touches carved stones arranged in a circle. They're not monuments to gods, but two choices, each one etched with patterns that tell stories only elders can read. You kneel beside them and trace the grooves. The lines spiral, twist, and interlock, forming shapes that seem to move when you blink. A strange calm falls over you. The whispering fades. Then, from the shadows between two stones, comes a voice, low, steady, not frightening, just impossibly old. It says, "Every love that reaches beyond its limits leaves an echo. Some fade, others become storms." You freeze. The words seem to pulse in your chest rather than in your ears. You want to answer, but your throat is dry. The air around you tastes like rain that hasn't fallen yet. Then another voice joins in, softer, higher, maybe female, maybe the forest itself speaking in harmony. "We remember the one who captured the mist. His house still smells of her tears." You close your eyes, and for a moment, you can smell it too, the faint sweetness of morning fog. The same scent that once wrapped Uenuku's home before everything fell apart. He whispers into the night, "I only wanted her to stay." The words tremble in the air, caught between confession and prayer. But the forest doesn't pity him. It answers instead with stories older than his, woven into the land. You see them flicker like visions. A man trying to carve wings from wood to reach his goddess. A woman who turned into a waterfall because her lover never returned. Some found what they sought, most didn't, and yet each left something behind. A sound, a scent, a shimmer that lingers between rain. The Maori believe that's why certain valleys always hum when the wind passes through, because they carry the voices of unfinished love stories. Scientists today might say it's just acoustics, air pressure, or the shape of the terrain. But maybe, just maybe, both are true. After all, history and myth have always shared the same heartbeat. You move closer to the circle of stones. Each one seems warmer now, faintly vibrating beneath your palm. The old voice speaks again. The sky listens only when the earth remembers. You think about that, how every prayer, every story, every regret must pass through the soil before it can rise. Maybe that's why Uenuku walks so far, why he speaks to trees and rivers and clouds. because somewhere deep inside, he knows the gods won't hear him unless the land itself forgives him first. A sudden gust stirs the leaves. The whispers turn to laughter, not cruel, just amused, like spirits remembering something ironic. You could swear one of them says, "He built a trap for mist, and now he's trapped by memory." You chuckle quietly, because even ghosts appreciate a good joke. Then the laughter fades, and silence blooms again. In that stillness, you realize the forest isn't just testing Uenuku, it's teaching him. To move forward, he must learn to listen, not with his ears, but with his heart, to the quiet beneath all noise. You hear water nearby, a slow trickle, steady and soothing. Following the sound, you find a stream illuminated by moonlight. Its surface glows like liquid glass. Uenuku kneels beside it and sees not his face but hers. For a heartbeat, she's there, eyes soft, lips parting, as if to speak. But the moment you blink, she's gone, leaving only the reflection of clouds drifting above. You feel his heart drop like a stone. He dips his hands into the cold water anyway, drinking, because hope, however foolish, still sustains him. Across generations, storytellers said that this forest is a threshold, a place where dreams test their own strength before crossing into the realm of gods. Travelers who enter rarely leave unchanged. Some emerge wiser, others simply vanish. Absorbed into the whispers, you feel the pull of it now, that fine edge between being and remembering. The air hums softly, almost like a lullaby. You might be tempted to stay, just to listen a little longer, but the forest seems to exhale, urging you onward as you step away. The whispers blend into a single phrase, carried on the wind. The way to the heavens begins with forgiveness. You repeat it quietly, tasting the words like an offering, and then, almost imperceptibly, the trees shift, parting to reveal a faint glow ahead, the beginning of another path, rising toward the clouds. You take a deep breath, the forest behind you sighs, and you know it will keep your story now, storing it among the countless others, echoes of love, regret, and stubborn hope that refuse to fade. You walk on, your steps slow and deliberate, guided by the soft rhythm of unseen voices fading into the mist. The night feels gentler now, as though something in the world has accepted your sorrow. And up ahead, barely visible through the haze, the first threads of dawn begin to stretch across the sky, pale, tender, and full of promise. You rise from the forest clearing, leaving behind the whispers that have wrapped around you like a soft blanket of secrets. The trees thin slightly as the terrain slopes upward, and you notice the air is warmer now, tinged with the faint scent of wildflowers that grow where sunlight finds the earth. The path ahead feels surreal, almost liquid beneath your feet, as if each step could lead you closer to a sky that has always felt unreachable. Uenuku's heart beats in sync with this journey. You can feel it, a rhythm tethered to hope, regret, and longing, carrying the weight of his desire to reunite with Hinepūkohurangi. Every step is deliberate, measured against the uncertainty of whether the gods will allow him passage. You imagine the construction of a ladder, not a simple wooden scaffold, but one woven from mist, light, and devotion, each rung a prayer suspended between earth and sky. It's a monumental act of faith, and you realize how fragile yet magnificent it feels, like trying to hold a soap bubble against the wind. The concept is simple, but the execution defies gravity. You picture Uenuku weaving the first rung, pulling threads of morning mist and rainbow light, feeling each one hum under his fingers. His hands grow sore, but he persists. There's a discipline here, one that reminds you of the meticulous way master craftsmen in old Māori waka would carve their canoes. Each stroke precise, meaningful, imbued with ancestry and intention. Uenuku's ladder is his waka, now a vessel to carry him to what he most desires. You follow alongside him, your own feet leaving no mark, because in this space, every movement is both real and imagined. Somewhere far below, streams gurgle, carrying water from the clouds themselves. You notice how the droplets catch the starlight, fracturing it into faint, transient rainbows that seem to bow in respect to the journey unfolding above. It's curious, almost magical, and you can't help but laugh softly. Humans have always tried to chase light, from lighthouses to laser pointers, yet here it bends effortlessly to the will of a devoted heart. As Uenuku ascends the first few rungs, you see the forest floor recede, replaced by a shifting gradient of clouds. They are dense and ethereal, moving like slow rivers, and each puff seems to whisper encouragement. You belong among the heights. Persist. Historians still debate whether such journeys are merely allegorical or if early Māori believed a mortal could truly reach the heavens. The ambiguity is perfect because it mirrors your own mixture of skepticism and awe. Walking a path that exists between myth and lived experience, a sudden wind rises, brisk but not cruel. It tangles through the ladder's rungs and flutters Uenuku's hair. You step carefully, feeling a thrill of vertigo, like standing atop a skyscraper and seeing the city below glittering in a mosaic of light. Except here, the city is replaced by a landscape shaped by memory and devotion. The wind is playful, teasing, as if testing him. Can your love withstand gusts that could sweep away even the most tenacious climbers? You notice small details, the ones often overlooked in history books. The occasional feather caught in the ladder's threads, A tiny bead of dew glimmering like a gem, the subtle warmth that seems to emanate from each rung. Each element is purposeful, a silent testament to the patience and ingenuity required when attempting something extraordinary. You think about the Polynesian navigators who once used the stars and waves to guide their voyages across vast oceans. Their success depended on observation, intuition, and unwavering faith, and now you see Uenuku embodying the same principles, only applied to the impossible distance between earth and sky. Hours pass without you noticing. The sun begins its gentle climb, casting muted pinks and oranges across the clouds, but the ladder's ascent continues uninterrupted. Uenuku pauses to rest occasionally, sitting on a rung as if it were a branch of a tree, his gaze lifting toward the realm of the gods. You watch, noting the quiet determination etched in his expression, the way his fingers linger on each rung as though blessing it. There's a strange intimacy in this silent communion, a lesson in patience, humility, and persistence that transcends the boundaries of the story itself. Occasionally, a cloud drifts closer, brushing his face with cool moisture, and he inhales deeply. You feel the weight of that breath, the mingling of mortality and divinity, and it strikes you how physical love and longing are inextricably tied to this ethereal journey. Scholars still debate whether the story of Uenuku was meant to instruct young warriors, warn lovers, or simply preserve the beauty of hope itself. In truth, perhaps it is all three, and more. Each step upward is a meditation on human desire, divine observation, and the delicate balance between determination and surrender. From your vantage point, just behind him, you see faint traces of color forming along the ladder, the earliest hints of a rainbow, bending around each rung in a delicate curve. Uenuku doesn't acknowledge it, not yet, for his focus is absolute. You think about how often human efforts are rewarded quietly, subtly, with glimpses of progress that may be missed if one's eyes wander. Even in modern life, the tiniest victories, a smile, a small act of kindness, a moment of understanding, often resemble these faint rainbow threads, visible only to those paying attention. The air grows cooler as the clouds rise higher, denser, and more mysterious. You notice the sound changing too. The rustle of the forest fades entirely, replaced by a low hum that seems to come from the very atmosphere. Your ears almost ache from the intensity of the silence, yet it's soothing, a sort of cosmic white noise that encourages focus and introspection. You wonder if the Māori sages intended this effect, or if it's simply how the imagination bridges the gap between legend and lived experience. Suddenly, a thin layer of mist curls around the ladder, curling like fingers of memory and longing. Uenuku grips each rung more firmly, and you feel the metaphorical weight of every past choice, every regret, and every longing he carries. Each pulse of determination sends vibrations up the ladder, harmonizing with the mist, forming patterns of light and shadow that ripple outward. It's a reminder that love, even when fraught with error, leaves visible traces on the world, echoes in clouds, patterns in rain, colors in the sky. You can almost hear the distant voices of other seekers, faint whispers carried by the wind, travelers, lovers, dreamers who attempted their own impossible climbs. Some voices encourage, some warn, some sigh with resignation. You note how the forest below would have once absorbed these echoes, only to release them when the next climber arrived, bridging generations with shared experience. Historians still debate how much of these narratives were originally oral mnemonic devices, but in this moment, you don't need proof. You feel it. You are part of the continuum. Time stretches. The landscape below is now a blur of shapes and muted colors, and the only tangible reality is the ladder, Uenuku's careful progress, and the persistent pull of what lies above. The clouds thicken further, occasionally letting shafts of sun penetrate, casting luminous highlights on the ladder's threads. They shimmer as though touched by divine hands, reinforcing the sense that this is no ordinary ascent. Even the sky itself seems to lean in, waiting, listening, acknowledging the determination of a mortal daring to reach toward the divine. And then, you notice the subtle lesson hidden in each step. It's not merely about reaching the top. Each rung, each thread of mist and rainbow light, each breath of wind teaches resilience, patience, and quiet reverence for the journey itself. Uenuku moves with deliberate care, aware that haste could shatter the delicate equilibrium he has worked to create. You reflect on how often modern humans forget this, rushing toward goals, overlooking the small wonders and lessons embedded in each step of a path. With each upward motion, the ladder becomes less a structure and more a living entity. Threads of color pulse faintly as though breathing, vibrating in rhythm with Uenuku's heartbeat. The higher he climbs, the more certain you feel that the path itself recognizes sincerity, reward, and perseverance. Small creatures of the clouds, perhaps spirits of former travelers, seem to flutter along the ladder's edges, guiding, whispering, reminding him to keep faith. By now, the landscape below has faded into an abstract tapestry of shadow and light. You feel both vertigo and serenity simultaneously. The story of Uenuku and Hinepūkohurangi is no longer a tale told by someone else. It is your own experience now. The ascension, the whispers, the soft tremor of the rainbow threads, all of it mirrors the human condition, our pursuit of connection, the persistence of longing, and the transcendence of hope when grounded in deliberate action. And so, step by careful step, you follow him. Each rung is a lesson, each thread a gentle reminder. The path to the heavens begins with devotion, humility, and trust in forces both seen and unseen. You inhale the mist, feeling it fill your lungs with possibility, and the quiet hum of the clouds beneath you carries a promise that every act of courage and love leaves a trace, even when the world seems vast, indifferent, or unreachable. Eventually, the ladder disappears into the dense shroud above. You cannot see the next rung, only sense its presence, and that is enough. The journey continues, unfolding in rhythm with the heartbeats of all who dare to climb, to love, and to hope. As you and Uenuku rise silently, together yet alone, into the clouds. In this suspended moment, you realize the ascent is not just a path to the gods, but a meditation on persistence, the quiet power of love, and the fragile, luminous threads that bind humans to the heavens. As Uenuku continues to climb the ladder, woven from mist and the earliest threads of rainbow light, you feel a tension in the air, almost tangible, as if the heavens themselves are holding their collective breath. Each step he takes seems to echo across the sky, and the clouds sway gently in response, as though aware that a mortal heart, driven by love and remorse, is daring to breach the boundaries of the divine. You notice how quiet it has become, the forest and rivers far below now mere memories, replaced by the hum of an unseen energy vibrating through the clouds. It's a sound that resonates deep within your chest, like the low purr of a distant engine, but infinitely softer. A cosmic ASMR that calms while it excites, lulling you into a focused stillness. The gods, hidden beyond the dense curtain of clouds, are observing. You can feel their presence as a gentle pressure in the air, not oppressive, but insistent. Legends tell of deities who test humans with riddles, storms, and illusions. But you sense a different kind of trial here. One that measures the sincerity and endurance of the heart rather than strength or cleverness. You imagine them peering from unseen thrones of light, eyes glimmering like starlight caught in a river, evaluating Uenuku's every decision, every careful hint. Historians still debate whether such divine interventions were literal beliefs or allegorical devices. Yet in this suspended moment, you sense them as palpably real as the mist curling around your fingers. Uenuku pauses on a particularly high rung, leaning slightly forward, feeling the breeze tug at his hair and cloak. The wind carries whispers of caution, of challenges, the kind that have tested heroes for generations. Though you suppress a quiet laugh, imagining Uenuku receiving a celestial pep talk like a coach shouting from the clouds. Some strands of rainbow light flicker uncertainly in the gusts, shimmering like holograms in a sunbeam, a detail so delicate you almost think they might vanish if he blinks too hard. Yet he steadies himself, fingers tracing the ladder's threads, as if confirming their existence. A physical reassurance that every step is anchored in devotion. You notice that the pattern of the rainbow threads is not random. The colors pulse in slow, deliberate sequences, as if alive, reacting to Uenuku's emotions, a visual symphony of his sorrow, longing, and determination. The reds flicker with his heartbeat, the blues with his sighs of remorse, the golds with the flickers of hope he clings to, even in the face of impossible odds. You are struck by how modern interpretations of light and color, from photography to laser shows, rarely achieve such organic, intimate interplay with human emotion. Here, color and feeling are inseparable, bending to the will of a heart that refuses to surrender. As the ladder continues its ascent, sudden turbulence shakes the threads, perhaps a test, perhaps the playful curiosity of a god. Uenuku adjusts his grip and posture with meticulous care. You can almost feel the strain in his arms, the tingle of cold mist on his skin, the subtle ache that comes from suspended tension, as if the universe itself is stretching alongside him. It reminds you of climbing ropes in modern mountains, where every micro-movement can mean the difference between a confident step and a sudden slip. But here, gravity feels like an afterthought, and the ladder itself hums with a quiet authority, supporting him in ways that defy ordinary physics. Below, the clouds begin to form shapes, brief glimpses of creatures and faces that vanish as quickly as they appear, like memories fleeting through the mind's eye. You imagine travelers, past lovers, or sages who have attempted the impossible, their spirits now entwined with this journey. The voices are soft, melodic murmurs, half encouragement, half warning, a chorus of experiences woven into the fabric of the world. Historians still debate whether these accounts were intended as literal guidance, allegorical lessons, or purely poetic embellishments. But the effect is tangible now. You feel connected, as if the cumulative experiences of countless seekers flow through the ladder, threading the past into the present. A sudden gust, stronger than before, bends the threads of mist around Uenuku like fingers brushing his cheeks. He leans into it, feeling the cold and wind, letting it brush away doubt as much as it tests his resolve. You chuckle softly, comparing it to modern weather apps predicting sunny skies, and yet delivering a surprise storm. A reminder that the divine, much like the natural world, has whims of its own. Still, the ladder bends but does not break. The threads holding firm under devotion, much as a tree sways in a gale, yet remains rooted in the soil. You notice small divine quirks along the way, a feather floating midair, catching light like spun gold. A tiny droplet of water suspended, refracting rainbows in miniature, a current of warm air nudging him forward. Each element is both ordinary and magical, a juxtaposition that feels familiar and fantastical at once. You think about historical anecdotes where explorers reported subtle phenomena, floating lights, phantom sounds, strange gusts often dismissed by skeptics. Yet here they are, undeniably real, interwoven into Uenuku's path. It's a delicate reminder that reality and legend often mingle, shaping experiences that resist simple categorization. Step by step, rung by rung, the ascent continues. The ladder climbs higher, threading its way through layers of cloud and light that shift and shimmer, revealing glimpses of the world below as though the sky itself is a giant kaleidoscope. You can see rivers and valleys as faint outlines, cities reduced to tiny glimmers, and forests to indistinct dark patches. You remember the forest spirits from before, and how their voices guided the path, realizing that each element of the journey's sound, scent, visual cues reinforces the story's lesson, persistence and devotion, manifest in both seen and unseen ways. Uenuku's journey is slow but steady. You can see the play of emotion in his posture, determination in the set of his shoulders, hope in the tilt of his chin, remorse in the quiet pause of his breath. You realize that the gods are not merely testing him physically, but emotionally, evaluating whether love can endure challenges that strain both body and spirit. You imagine a subtle nod from an unseen deity, approving of his patience, as if to say, "This is the measure of true devotion." Historians still debate whether these divine trials were meant literally or metaphorically, yet the lesson resonates. The path itself, with its challenges and supports, shapes the seeker as much as the goal above. The faint rainbow threads continue to respond to him, rippling gently as he climbs, almost as if breathing. You notice the harmony: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet, each color a pulse of affirmation, marking progress both visible and spiritual. You think about modern science, how light refracts, splits, and interacts with our eyes to create color. Yet here, the phenomenon is deeply intertwined with emotion, devotion, and myth. It's a reminder that human experience often transcends measurable physics, entering a realm where heart and sky intertwine, and then you realize that Uenuku's perseverance has created a rhythm, a cadence in the ascent, like a heartbeat projected across the sky. The ladder vibrates faintly under his careful movements, echoing with a resonance that feels both ancient and timeless. You notice the subtle beauty of impermanence, clouds shifting, rainbow threads flickering, wind gusting unpredictably, all temporary, yet all meaningful. You reflect on how historical records sometimes obscure these delicate patterns, focusing on outcomes rather than processes. Yet here, the process itself is the story, and the story itself becomes your meditation. The higher he climbs, the thinner the air feels, and yet each breath carries a sense of exhilaration. You can almost taste the cold, crisp mist, tinged with faint sweetness, like early morning dew on wild berries, a flavor both vivid and fleeting. Uenuku continues, unwavering, as if the very act of ascending purifies regret and strengthens hope. Historians still debate whether the Māori intended these vivid details to instruct young lovers, inspire warriors, or simply celebrate devotion. But it matters little now. You feel the intent in every careful movement, every thoughtful pause, every interaction with the living threads of the ladder dot, and so you continue to accompany him, rung by rung, cloud by cloud, the journey unbroken, quiet yet vibrant, each step both literal and symbolic. You notice the subtle interplay between control and surrender. He must hold fast to the ladder, yet trust that it will carry him, just as one must navigate life's challenges, balancing agency and faith. The higher he goes, the more the horizon blurs, until earth and sky are indistinguishable, leaving only the delicate threads, the silent hum of the gods, and the enduring pulse of devotion. By the time the next light shifts in the clouds, you understand. This path is a living testament to the power of love, patience, and perseverance. It is both trial and blessing, challenge and reward, a meditation in motion, a narrative woven from heartbeats and mist. Every detail, the faint glimmers of rainbow, the whisper of the wind, the tremor of each rung, becomes part of a larger, continuous lesson. And as you and Uenuku rise silently into the shrouded heights, you feel the quiet truth settle over you. The journey itself is the blessing and devotion, like light through mist, leaves a trail that endures. Step by step, breath by breath, you follow. The clouds bend, the rainbow threads pulse, and the sky waits. And in this delicate, suspended ascent, the subtle beauty of persistence, love, and faith becomes your own, carried gently into the quiet hum of the universe. As Uenuku steps into the final layer of clouds, the air shifts. Heavier now with anticipation and the faint sweetness of celestial mist. You feel it too, the subtle change in texture, like slipping from a soft woolen blanket into satin sheets that still carry the warmth of sunlight. Every sound softens. The wind moves slower, almost reverently, brushing against his cloak in gentle sweeps that whisper encouragements and warnings at the same time. The rainbow threads that carried him from the lower clouds pulse brighter now, each color radiating a quiet intensity, as though aware that the moment of reunion is at hand. You can almost taste the electricity in the air, mingled with the soft perfume of clouds, warmed by distant sunlight. A combination that evokes both nostalgia and longing. Like finding an old letter tucked into the pages of a book you loved long ago, and then suddenly, Hinepūkohurangi appears. She is not merely a vision or a trick of the light. She emerges like the slow unveiling of dawn over a silent sea, her form glistening with residual mist that dances around her, catching the rainbow threads that seem to flow from Uenuku's own heart. Her eyes, deep and luminous as the early morning fog that lingers over mountain peaks, find his immediately. You notice how every instinct within him, patience, hope, and the quiet hum of regret, aligns with hers in a way that seems to bend the very fabric of the clouds. You hear the faintest whisper of awe escape your own lips, as if the sky itself has taken a breath. The moment is delicate, a perfect balance between anticipation and reality. You notice how her presence bends the rainbow light, not like a prism scattering sunlight, but like soft threads weaving themselves around them both in recognition of the bond that transcends human and divine divides. The phenomenon reminds you of optical illusions you've studied as a child, those playful tricksters of light and color, but here, each flicker feels purposeful, intentional, and imbued with emotion. A historian might argue that this description exaggerates natural occurrences, yet even skeptics would pause, sensing the profound interplay of devotion, loss, and reunion. As they approach one another, Uenuku steps forward tentatively, aware that every action could either complete or unravel the intricate balance of this meeting. The rainbow threads beneath him shimmer in response to the slightest movement, shifting in patterns that echo their emotions, hesitant curves of violet, determined streaks of red, and hesitant ripples of blue. You think about modern art installations that attempt to capture human emotion through light and color. None could achieve the seamless integration of essence and environment you now witness. You feel the narrative's layers intertwine, human longing, divine patience, and nature's subtle guidance, each one a note in a symphony that has been centuries in composition. Hinepūkohurangi smiles softly, and you notice the small, almost imperceptible movements of her form, as if even the air bends to accommodate her presence. Her voice, when it comes, is a gentle exhalation, carrying across the clouds in tones that stir memory and hope. I have waited, even when the skies whispered otherwise. You shiver slightly, not from cold, but from the sheer resonance of her words. Like music composed to echo in the chambers of your heart, the historian in you would marvel at the combination of narrative elegance and emotional clarity. Yet you are swept beyond analysis into pure, immersive experience. Uenuku bows his head slightly, his own voice low and steady. And I have climbed, through wind and shadow, through remorse and longing, just to see you again. The rainbow threads pulse in synchrony with his heartbeat, the colors deepening, expanding, and intertwining in ways that suggest not only reunion but transformation. You notice subtle details, the mist curling around their feet, tiny droplets catching the colors in miniature rainbows, the soft ripple of cloud beneath them, almost as if the sky itself is sighing in relief. Each observation feels like a secret the universe has chosen to share with you alone, a personal witness to a love story woven into the cosmos. As they close the distance, their hands brush, not with the suddenness of surprise, but with the slow, deliberate gentleness of two forces rediscovering their complementarity. You feel the vibration in the air shift, a resonance that could be mistaken for wind but is actually the acknowledgement of a promise long delayed. You smile quietly, recalling earlier moments of Uenuku's journey, the painstaking ascent, the silent prayers, the encounters with the voices of past seekers, and realizing that each challenge has led to this precise alignment. Historians still debate whether the Māori intended these metaphors to instruct or simply to inspire, yet here, the lesson is tangible. Persistence, patience, and devotion leave marks not only on hearts but on the very world. You notice the sky respond in subtle ways. A cloud lifts slightly, revealing a faint halo of light. A soft breeze twirls the edges of the rainbow threads. Droplets of mist scatter, catching rays to form smaller arcs that fan outward like delicate fireworks. Each of these responses is measured, neither overwhelming nor fleeting, creating a tableau that is both magnificent and intimate. You think about modern cinema's attempts to capture magical reunions with CGI, yet nothing on earth could replicate the organic grace and intricacy of this celestial moment. Here, the story and environment are inseparable, a choreography performed by devotion, time, and the soft pulse of love itself. Then, as their hands meet fully, the rainbow above them flares in intensity, a slow bloom of colors that rise and curve with elegance, forming arcs that seem to cradle both the mortal and divine. The effect is mesmerizing, reminiscent of early photographic experiments with light exposure, yet imbued with a vitality that no lens could capture. You feel the warmth of the colors, subtle but undeniable, as if they reach through the clouds to brush against your own consciousness. The air vibrates lightly, the hum of unseen currents, blending with the soft whisper of past rains and morning mists. You notice how every detail of their reunion is mirrored in the environment. Clouds part just enough to frame them. Light refracts in multiple directions, creating layers of depth. Rainbow threads pulse as if breathing, marking each heartbeat, each moment of reconnection. You recall stories of aurora borealis that early navigators believed were omens, natural signs entwined with human emotion and legend. And you see a parallel here. The environment is not merely backdrop, but participant, responding to intention and emotion alike. You realize that the Mbori narrative isn't merely about love. It's about the reciprocity between human action, divine observation, and nature's gentle compliance. A moment of silence follows. No words are needed. The reunion itself speaks volumes. You feel the hum of clouds, the pulse of the rainbow threads. The weight of centuries of myth and devotion converge into a quiet affirmation. Love, when patient and sincere, resonates with the world in ways subtle and grand. A few droplets of mist hover, suspended, refracting the rainbow into miniature echoes, like tiny affirmations scattered throughout the sky. You remember earlier scenes, the voices in the forest, the perils of Uenuku's ascent, the playful turbulence of rainbow threads, all have led to this harmonious alignment, as they hold each other gently, not clinging too tightly but not letting go. The colors above expand slowly, painting the sky in arcs that stretch beyond the clouds, touching horizons unseen by human eyes below. It's a visual language older than words, one that communicates reassurance, resolution, and the delicate power of connection. You notice subtle flickers within the rainbow, as if the sky is breathing with them, a living tableau that defies ordinary description. Even historians who debate the literal versus symbolic nature of these myths would pause, recognizing that the emotional truth here transcends strict interpretation. Finally, you sense the environment begin to soften. The rainbow arcs linger, then fade gently into delicate mist. The clouds settle into layers that hug the horizon rather than obstruct it. The soft hum in the air quiets to a tender whisper. Every detail of the reunion, from the brush of hands to the intertwining threads of rainbow, imprints upon the clouds and sky a memory that will persist subtly, imperceptibly, but irrevocably. You feel a calm wash over you, the kind that comes from witnessing resolution, from seeing devotion honored in the most delicate and extraordinary way, and in this quiet, luminous aftermath, you understand. The reunion of Uenuku and Hinepūkohurangi is not merely about joy. It is about completion, reflection, and the subtle assurance that patience, sincerity, and love leave traces that ripple through time and space. You close your eyes for just a moment, inhaling the ethereal scent of mist and rainbow, and you feel the story, with all its trials, hums, and triumphs, settle deep into your consciousness. A lullaby for both mind and spirit. The rainbow, the mist, and the lovers remain in harmony, a tableau etched softly across the celestial canvas, inviting you to linger just a little longer in the serene embrace of myth and devotion. Step by step, pulse by pulse, you carry the quiet lesson with you, that love, once proven and patient, resonates across all boundaries, bridging realms and time itself, leaving behind arcs of light that linger like whispers of eternity. And as you breathe in the soft, settling.com, you realize that the sky itself has shared a secret with you tonight. Patience is luminous, devotion is enduring, and even the briefest touch of reconciliation can color the world in lasting, tender ways. The sky exhales, the rainbow threads soften, and the story of reunion folds gently into the ambient hum of the universe, carrying with it the quiet warmth of hope and love finally recognized. As you follow the soft, lingering glow of the first rainbow that arcs above the final clouds where Uenuku and Hinepūkohurangi have reunited, you can't help but feel the sky itself is speaking in a language older than words, older than memory, a dialogue of light and mist that only the patient, observant heart can understand. The rainbow stretches generously, each color distinct yet seamlessly flowing into the next, and you notice how even the faintest wisp of cloud seems to curl around the arcs, cradling them as though the heavens themselves recognize a promise being made. You breathe deeply, the air carrying the delicate scent of lingering rain mixed with the faint sweetness of mist warmed by sunlight, a combination that reminds you of childhood afternoons spent chasing puddles after a summer shower, only magnified to the scale of cosmic wonder. You realize that the rainbow is not merely a visual phenomenon here, it is a living emblem of commitment, devotion, and the quiet resonance of love that has survived trials, distance, and even divine scrutiny. You watch as the colors gently pulse, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet, each one imbued with meaning, a tactile vibration that seems to reverberate in your chest. Historians still debate whether the Mbori intended the rainbow as a metaphor for reconciliation, or if it was observed as a natural marvel intertwined with these stories. Yet here, standing beneath it, you feel a certainty that transcends scholarly argument. The rainbow is a promise, a living, breathing testament to endurance and fidelity. Your gaze lingers on the red arc, vibrant and assertive, symbolizing passion and courage, and you remember Uenuku's relentless climb through storms, mist, and clouds, every step a testament to unwavering devotion. Orange and yellow glow like warmth and joy, each hue reminding you of morning light spilling through a window and waking the world. Delicate yet insistent, green stretches softly across the sky, like the tender brush of moss beneath your fingers, grounding the spectacle in the reality of life, of growth, and of continuity. Blue flows calmly, a reminder of vast oceans and quiet reflection. And you imagine Uenuku's thoughts during his ascent, moments of doubt, loneliness, and longing settling into that tranquil wave of color, reconciled by the eventual reunion. Indigo and violet shimmer with an almost magical quality, like ink diluted in water, mysterious yet comforting, hinting at the divine presence that observes, intervenes, and guides without disrupting the natural rhythm of love and fate. You feel a shiver of recognition, as though the sky itself has been whispering to you all along, drawing your attention to the subtle interplay of patience and reward, of loss and regained trust. You take a step closer to the edge of the cloud where you stand, feeling the soft give of vapor beneath your feet, cushioned yet solid enough to support your wonder. Each droplet that clings to the rainbow threads glitters like tiny prisms, fracturing sunlight into miniature arcs. And you notice how the interplay of light and water creates a living, breathing mosaic that responds to the presence of those beneath it. It is mesmerizing in a way that both overwhelms and comforts, like the gentle hum of a distant choir harmonizing with a breeze. You remember stories of rainbows from other cultures, Norse Bifrost, Irish leprechaun breeches, and the biblical covenant after the Great Flood. And you find yourself appreciating the Māori version, not only for its beauty, but for its emotional depth. Each rainbow is not just a sign in the sky. It is a living, eternal narrative, a bridge between realms, a promise between beings, and a testament to the enduring human heart. The soft hum of cloud currents and distant wind seems to carry a melody now, a cadence that matches the rhythm of the colors above. You notice that each pulse of light is synchronized with a subtle motion, like the breathing of the heavens themselves, expanding and contracting in harmony with the promise the rainbow embodies. Hinepūkohurangi and Uenuku stand at the center of this living arc, not as gods or mortals alone, but as embodiments of patience, devotion, and reconciliation. You imagine the countless watchers in history who must have lifted their gaze toward rainbows, sensing a story behind every curve of color, wondering if it was luck, fate, or the gentle intervention of higher powers. You hear the faint echo of Māori elders narrating these stories to their children, each telling a lesson in humility, perseverance, and the quiet power of love. The rainbow's beauty is not loud or brash. It does not shout to be seen, yet it commands attention with its subtle insistence, a gentle nudge to acknowledge devotion's rewards. You feel a warmth that isn't merely sunlight but an internal illumination, the recognition that the trials Uenuku endured were not in vain and that Hinepūkohurangi's patience was a mirror to human longing and divine restraint. You notice tiny details that make the scene intimate, droplets gliding down the rainbow arcs, catching light like liquid jewels, the way the mist curls softly around their feet, the tender gaze they exchange that does not need word. Each detail is deliberate, resonating with quiet, almost meditative significance. As you linger, your mind drifts to the human tendency to seek tangible signs of promises kept. A rainbow is ephemeral, fleeting, yet here it remains, suspended in a way that feels eternal, a paradox that mirrors life itself. The most delicate things can carry the heaviest weight of meaning. You think of letters sent across oceans, messages whispered between lovers, and the small gestures that survive time. The rainbow is like that, grand in scale, yet deeply personal. A visible testament to devotion that transcends mortal understanding. Historians still debate whether this story influenced navigation or agricultural practices. Yet even in those discussions, the lesson is inseparable from the spectacle. Commitment leaves an imprint, sometimes visible only to the eyes of those who seek it with a true heart. The colors shift imperceptibly as you watch, deepening, then softening, each transition gentle yet deliberate, as if orchestrated by unseen hands. You notice that the light reflects differently on the edges of the clouds, creating soft halos and miniature prisms that flicker with every breath of wind. You feel almost as if you can reach out and touch them, yet they remain just beyond the physical, a reminder that some promises are felt more than they are seen. Some love endured more than it is articulated. You think of Uenuku's perseverance, the trials faced, and the whispers in the forests, and you understand that every element, every trial, every subtle ripple has contributed to this quiet perfection of reunion. As your focus shifts to the horizon, you notice how the rainbow begins to arc fully, spanning the sky, a bridge connecting clouds, mist, and sun. You imagine the soft laughter of Māori children from centuries ago, pointing at similar arcs and asking their elders what magic keeps the colors in the sky. Each color carries a story, a lesson, a heartbeat, and you feel a deep, calming resonance, a lullaby for the soul that does not rely on sound but on presence and perception. The pulse of colors seems to synchronize with your own heartbeat, drawing you into the narrative as an intimate participant rather than a distant observer. Red, bold, and assertive reminds you of courage and persistence. orange of warmth and joy, yellow of clarity and illumination, green of growth and harmony, blue of calm reflection, indigo of mystery, and violet of divine connection. Each color not only stretches across the sky but flows inward, brushing against your consciousness, weaving itself into your perception of patience, love, and enduring hope. The rainbow is a promise not only to Uenuku and Hinepūkohurangi, but also to anyone who looks up and chooses to believe that love, in its truest form, leaves marks that ripple quietly yet persistently through time and memory. As the colors begin to soften, you feel the world exhale with them. Mist curls gently. The cloud beneath your feet softens, and the hum of the sky fades to a tender whisper. The rainbow remains, subtle yet unmistakable. A quiet promise woven into the fabric of the heavens, a bridge between what was lost and what has been found. You take a slow breath and let yourself absorb the serenity, the gentle assurance that devotion and patience are rewarded. Not always with grandeur, but with quiet, resonant truth. The arc of the rainbow, the soft glow of the clouds, and the tender reunion of the lovers settle together into a tableau that is both breathtaking and intimate, lingering in your mind like a delicate memory that you wish to carry always. You lift your gaze to the horizon, and there it is again, a rainbow painting the sky with gentle insistence, almost as if it remembers every footstep Uenuku took. Every sigh, Hinepūkohurangi released in the clouds above. You feel the damp coolness of mist settling on your skin, soft as velvet, and your ears catch the faint rustle of leaves stirred by a breeze that seems to carry whispers from the past. The elders of the Maori tribes used to say that each hue you see is more than light refracted through droplets. It is a breath, a sigh, a memory of love witnessed long ago. You imagine the vibrancy of those first arcs stretching over the land, and in that vision, it's easy to understand why the people watched the skies not merely for weather, but for messages from the unseen, for the quiet reassurance that devotion endures. You lean slightly forward, squinting against the sun's glow, almost expecting to hear Hinepūkohurangi's laughter mingling with the wind, and your chest tightens with the serene, almost overwhelming recognition that love when true is woven into the very air you breathe. The reds and oranges gleam like molten copper, reminding you of campfires long past, where stories and warmth intermingled under starry skies. You can almost feel the heat of those fires flickering on your skin, though all around you the air is cool, a paradox that mirrors the nature of these ancient tales. You remember reading once that Maori navigators used the colors of rainbows as subtle markers for wind patterns, an unexpected practicality embedded in myth. And it makes you smile, thinking of Uenuku, not only striving for love, but unknowingly, leaving traces that guided generations across the seas. Historians still debate the precise meanings of these arcs and oral traditions, whether the colors themselves carried coded messages or simply illustrated the majesty of divine encounters. But standing here, beneath this living tapestry, such arguments feel distant, almost irrelevant. You feel instead the immediate intimacy of the sky embracing both myth and observer, wrapping you into the folds of a story that is at once cosmic and personal. Green stretches like a velvet carpet beneath the floating rainbow, and you imagine walking upon it, each step releasing the faint scent of wet grass and earth, a reminder that all stories, no matter how divine, touch the soil of human experience. The green whispers patience and harmony, echoing Uenuku's long journey through forests and across rivers, the tireless climb over mountains, and the quiet moments of self-doubt that every human heart has known. As your eyes trace the soft curve of blue above, you feel calmness ripple through you, like floating in a gentle pool of water, weightless yet aware of depth. The blue is the sky, yes, but also the quiet reflection after hardship, the inner landscape where remorse, hope, and longing intermingle. You think of Hinepūkohurangi resting among clouds, her delicate patience mirrored in the soft folds of mist that the wind teases across the valleys below, a reminder that even divine love requires quiet endurance. Indigo and violet shimmer at the edges of your vision, deep and enigmatic, like twilight creeping over a distant horizon. The indigo whispers of mystery, a call to curiosity, and you feel the thrill of stepping closer to understanding secrets older than the land beneath your feet. Violet hums with the presence of the sacred, a force is unseen yet palpably present, and you recognize the subtle sensation of awe curling through your spine, the same way you might feel standing before a cathedral, where architecture and devotion merge to leave you breathless and small. You think of the elders' voices, the stories passed down at dusk, each tale a thread in the intricate tapestry of Maori culture, a reminder that legends survive not only through written records but through breath, memory, and the gentle insistence of attention. You let your fingers trace the air in front of you, as if trying to catch a color, and the impossibility of it makes you chuckle softly, a tiny, private acknowledgement that some magic is meant to be witnessed, not possessed. As the colors begin to blur slightly at the edges, softening like watercolors bleeding into each other, you notice how the light seems to echo the pulse of your own heartbeat. Each subtle change is a gentle affirmation, a lullaby sung in color, that love's promise is both enduring and delicate. You remember the story of the first rainbow, of how Uenuku's determination carved a path through storms, and you recognize the symmetry between his struggle and the natural laws that create rainbows, patience, light, water, and timing all converging to create something ephemeral and exquisite. There is a quiet humor here too, in the way the cosmos chooses such poetic theatrics, as though the sky itself has a mischievous sense of drama, delighting in showing off after countless trials. You imagine ancient observers pointing skyward, whispering to their children about the arcs, unaware that each rainbow they admired was also teaching lessons in loyalty, resilience, and the power of soft persistence. The edges of the rainbow glow with an ethereal light, almost tangible, a tactile warmth that brushes against your vision. You feel a shiver of recognition, a delicate thrill, and it seems as if every drop of water suspended in the sky carries a tiny heartbeat, the residue of devotion that survived distance, fear, and divine scrutiny. You think of the countless nights Uenuku must have spent watching the horizon, listening to the wind carry hints of mist and memory, and you sense a kinship between him and every human who has waited for something intangible yet undeniably present. Historians still debate whether rainbows influenced ritual, navigation, or even early agriculture in Māori culture. Yet the enduring symbolism remains undeniable. For you, the experience transcends debate. The rainbow is promise. It is proof. It is presence. You lean back slightly, feeling the gentle slope of clouds beneath you, and notice how the light dances on droplets of mist, creating miniature arcs that multiply infinitely. Fractals of color that seem both chaotic and perfectly ordered. The interplay is mesmerizing, hypnotic, drawing you deeper into contemplation, almost like the sensation of listening to a slow, instrumental melody that begins simply and expands into complex harmonies you can feel in your chest. Each tiny prism mirrors the larger rainbow, just as the stories of countless generations reflect the central narrative of devotion, patience, and reunion. You remember Uenuku ascending his path of clouds and rainbows, and you feel the beauty of each small, painstaking step mirrored in every glimmer of color before you. The rainbow stretches fully across the sky now, a bridge connecting clouds, mist, and sunlight, each hue flowing seamlessly into the next, unbroken. You imagine stepping onto it, floating gently, the surface yielding but supportive, every movement cushioned by vapor and light. There is a quiet reassurance here, an almost whispered message from the universe, reminding you that promises can endure beyond immediate perception, that the unseen work of devotion carries its own reward. You catch the subtle scent of wet leaves and blossoms on the breeze, and it mingles with a sense of awe and intimacy, creating a lullaby of senses that resonates more deeply than any spoken words could. You notice the rainbow, beginning to soften at its core, the colors dimming gently, not fading entirely, but relaxing into a comforting haze. It is as if the sky is sighing, sharing a moment of private reflection with you. You recall the elders' tales, their quiet instruction, that love, observed and nurtured, can manifest in forms both monumental and fleeting, that patience and sincerity are rewarded in ways the eye may not immediately see. The rainbow, in this quiet finale, serves as an enduring, gentle affirmation that even the most delicate, ephemeral things can carry profound meaning. You close your eyes briefly, letting the spectrum imprint upon your mind. Each color, a note in a lullaby that will hum softly in your memory long after the sky itself has shifted. Finally, as the rainbow arcs soften fully into a tender haze, and the clouds drift lazily across the horizon, you feel a profound calm settle over your senses. The world exhales with you, and you sense the continuity of love, devotion, and the quiet power of witnessing something extraordinary, even if only for a fleeting moment. The rainbow remains, a delicate bridge between human hearts and divine presence, a testament to promises kept and patience rewarded. Its colors, though fading, linger in your mind's eye, each hue a gentle reminder of the enduring power of care, the quiet triumph of faithfulness, and the soft magic of stories passed down through generations. As you sink into the quiet moment beneath the lingering traces of rainbow light, you feel a gentle pull to reflect on the stories behind the colors, the ones that have traveled generations, whispered from elder to child, forming a tapestry of memory that stretches wider than any sky you've ever seen. The elders, those patient guardians of time, sometimes chuckle softly when they see younger ones gazing upward, wide-eyed, and remind them that the rainbow is not only a spectacle, but a language, a ledger of emotion etched into the heavens. You notice how the colors still hum softly even when the arc has long faded from view, an invisible vibration that your mind catches, like the lingering perfume of a flower pressed into a book, delicate yet persistent. You're aware that these tales have survived centuries of oral transmission, through colonization, through shifts in societal structures, through the mundane bustle of life that often sweeps away everything else. And yet, somehow, they remain resilient, a testament to both human memory and devotion. Historians still debate the nuances. Was Uenuku truly a divine warrior, or merely a symbol, a composite of longing, loyalty, and moral instruction meant to guide behavior in the human world? For you, standing quietly under a sky that has seen such stories unfold, the distinction feels almost irrelevant. The essence is what lingers. The pulse of connection across time. You trace the edge of the clouds with your gaze, noticing how the late afternoon sun throws shafts of gold that seem to dance through the moisture, and the effect is hypnotic, almost as if the air itself is participating in the storytelling. You imagine the elders long ago, seated around firelight that cracked and popped in the hush of night, their voices low, rhythmic, weaving Hinepūkohurangi and Uenuku into the fabric of their listeners' hearts. They told of patience and yearning, of consequences meted by both mortal choice and celestial will, and of triumphs that were neither loud nor brash, but quietly luminous. Like the delicate bending of light in a raindrop, you can almost hear the subtle laughter in those gatherings, a humor born of intimate knowledge of human folly, the way one might quietly snort at a remembered awkwardness in a friend's youth, and it draws you closer into the communal heart of the story. The air around you is warm yet carries a crispness, like stepping into a library after rain, the scent of paper mingling with earth. And you smile at the thought that these myths, too, are a kind of library, a repository of human experience curated with care. You realize that every color you see, every whisper of sky bending through prism, represents more than narrative. It represents continuity, memory, and shared experience. The deep crimson of the rainbow might symbolize the courage to seek love, despite uncertainty, just as elders once reminded listeners that waiting and endurance often required more bravery than immediate action. Orange might carry the warmth of connection, of community, of being held within collective care, while yellow hums with joy, with laughter shared beneath sunlight and rain alike. Green spreads serenity and harmony, the sense of balance found in walking paths known and unknown, of stepping lightly through the world while holding the memory of those who came before you. Blue and indigo fold together the vast mysteries, the depth of reflection, the contemplative pause that follows experience. Violet at the edge invites reverence, the recognition of something greater than oneself, a quiet awe that is both humbling and grounding. You feel the subtle way these lessons, encoded in color, linger in your body as well as your mind, a soft resonance that hums under the surface like a familiar tune remembered upon waking. You think, with a gentle amusement, how this human desire to personify, to mythologize, to make sense of the invisible. It's oddly like trying to explain why your socks disappear in the dryer, except far more poetic, with cosmic stakes. You laugh quietly to yourself, the sound almost swallowed by the distance, yet comforting in its recognition of absurdity and wonder combined. The Maori elders, in their wisdom, seemed to understand that human comprehension craves metaphor, that narrative and nature dance best together, and so they entwined love, sky, and rainbow into a single, enduring story. You notice the way the modern world still mirrors this instinct. The names of constellations, the allegories in paintings, the rituals of seasons, all echo a universal need to connect abstract forces with lived experience, a desire to give voice to the invisible. Historians still debate exactly how these myths evolved over centuries, what elements were changed, lost, or emphasized. But the persistence of the rainbow story itself is perhaps the point. It survives because it resonates, because it encodes something fundamentally human. Your eyes follow a drifting cloud, the light shifting as the day tilts toward evening, softening the colors of the sky into muted pastel versions of their former brilliance. You imagine Hinepūkohurangi's form dissolving into the mist, still, present, yet intangible, her movement like a secretive sigh that carries reassurance across valleys and rivers. The soft brush of the wind against your cheek feels like her hand, gentle and patient, reminding you that presence can exist even without grasp, that love can be sustained without possession. Uenuku's journey, as the elders recount it, was never about conquering or binding, but about reaching, understanding, and honoring. And the rainbow is their eternal dialogue, a bridge of acknowledgement rather than ownership. You can almost hear the murmurs of children who learned this long ago, repeating it in whispers that became part of the landscape itself. And you feel a deep calm settle, like a warm blanket folding around your shoulders, soothing and affirming. You notice that even in modern interpretations, these lessons hold: the first rainbow of childhood memory, the spectrum of awe when catching sight of one after rain, or the quiet reflection of standing beneath one alone, all carry echoes of those first tales. It reminds you that myths are not just historical artifacts but living frameworks, guiding perception, behavior, and imagination. There is humor, too, in imagining the cosmological negotiations behind such stories, the way deities and mortals alike might have wrangled with pride, jealousy, and longing, as if the heavens themselves were a stage for the timeless comedy of love. You feel the lightness of acknowledging this without diminishing its depth, like savoring a dessert that is both playful and profound. Historians still debate the extent to which such tales influenced social norms, ritual practices, or knowledge, yet you feel the truth of their message vibrating softly, almost imperceptibly in your chest. Love endures, patience is rewarded, and presence, both ephemeral and abiding, is transformative. The colors in the sky begin to settle into soft gradients, the rainbow no longer defined but still perceptible in faint, tender whispers of light. It is here that you sense the quiet magic, that the story, though ancient, persists not only in the telling but in its embodiment in the world around you. The breeze carries hints of rain-soaked earth, the scent of flowers that only bloom briefly in shifting sunlight, and you realize how perfectly these sensory details parallel the arc of love itself, fleeting yet memorable, subtle yet profound. You close your eyes for a moment, allowing your imagination to replay the narrative. Every brushstroke of Hinepūkohurangi's presence and Uenuku's devotion, every color that once burned bright now softly lingering in the mind's eye. Finally, you breathe deeply, feeling the rhythm of your heartbeat align with the subtle pulsing of memory, color, and narrative. The rainbow, though no longer vivid, remains a quiet guide, a soft echo of love's enduring promise. You feel the gentle reassurance that stories, much like light bending through droplets, transform, refract, and survive in forms beyond their original manifestation. The elders' voices, the whispers of history, the fleeting arc in the modern sky all coalesced into a lullaby of enduring devotion and the subtle magic of witnessing, teaching you once again that some truths are best absorbed in quiet observation, in gentle reflection, and in the calm of being present beneath the arc of color that has bridged heaven and earth for generations. As the colors of the rainbow begin to wane, fading ever so gently into the soft grays and blues of the late evening sky, you feel the subtle shift in the world around you, as if the very air has grown quieter, more intimate, and the weight of centuries of stories hangs lightly, like a feather brushing your shoulder. You walk slowly, barefoot on the damp earth, feeling the cool dampness seep into your skin, a sensation that is both grounding and strangely comforting, like dipping your hands into a bowl of lukewarm water on a sleepy afternoon. The fading of the rainbow is not abrupt. It is a gentle diminuendo, like the last notes of a song that lingered just long enough for you to remember every word, every harmony, every quiet pause that carried meaning. And in this soft, diminishing, you recognize the lesson that the Māori elders sought to impart through the tale of Uenuku and Hinepūkohurangi. Love, in its truest form, is not about possession or holding on tightly, but about allowing light and mist, presence and absence, to find their own rhythm in the vast, intricate dance of the universe. You remember Hinepūkohurangi's ethereal presence, how she moved with a grace that was not bound by the constraints of time or expectation, and Uenuku's unwavering devotion, which, though sometimes faltering, was guided by the deepest honesty of his heart. You realize that their story mirrors the lives of countless humans, even today, as we navigate the tensions between desire and freedom, between connection and letting go. Standing there, beneath the sky that has held their story, you sense a quiet reassurance. Lost does not signify an ending, but a transformation, a gentle reshaping of how love is expressed and experienced. The elders would remind you, with a soft chuckle in their voice, that sometimes the most profound wisdom comes not from triumph or conquest, but from the gentle acceptance of and the willingness to embrace the beauty of what was, however fleeting it may be. You glance back toward the horizon, noticing how the light bends differently now, scattering across clouds that were once touched by the rainbow, painting them with the faintest hints of violet, indigo, and soft gold. It is almost imperceptible, yet it resonates deeply, like the soft vibration of memory in your chest, reminding you that even when colors vanish from the sky, their essence remains, carried in the spaces between light and shadow, in the air that fills your lungs, and in the quiet pulse of life that surrounds you. You smile at the thought that these faint traces are like whispers from the past, a subtle encouragement to honor the moments of beauty and connection in your own life, to recognize that even transient encounters leave lasting impressions. And in this, you understand that the fading rainbow is not a loss, but a gentle nudge from the universe. That love, once experienced sincerely, never truly disappears, but lives on, in memory, in reflection, and in the quiet rhythms of the natural world. As you wander slowly, each step careful and deliberate on the soft, dewy grass, you feel the soft embrace of nightfall wrapping around you, cool air brushing against your skin like a tender caress. You notice the faint hum of insects settling into their nocturnal rhythms, the distant call of birds returning to hidden nests, and the gentle rustle of leaves swaying in a wind that seems almost sentient, carrying stories across forests, rivers, and valleys. You feel a kinship with the countless generations who have stood in this same space, gazing at the sky, feeling the ebb and flow of love and longing, witnessing the fragile and transient beauty of the world. The Māori elders, in their gentle storytelling, taught that these moments of observation, of quiet reflection, are as significant as the grand gestures of heroic deeds or the loud proclamations of history. For it is in these subtle pauses that wisdom is absorbed, and hearts are gently attuned to the patterns of life. Historians still debate how literal or symbolic Uenuku and Hinepūkohurangi truly were, but the lesson persists. The essence of love, patience, and respect for natural rhythms transcends the specifics of time, place, or even human comprehension. You feel your body relaxing with every exhalation, the tension of the day, of countless days, slowly melting into the night. You recall the warmth of Uenuku's determination, Hinepūkohurangi's delicate grace, and the way their story taught that true love is not a grip but a dance. Not a chain but a gentle tether of understanding, allowing each participant to shine in their own sphere while remaining connected by memory, respect, and shared longing. You think of the rivers, mountains, and forests they traversed, each step infused with meaning, and you feel a soft echo of that journey within yourself, a quiet prompting to cherish the paths you take, to notice the subtleties of connection, to recognize that sometimes letting go is itself an act of devotion. You smile at the absurdity and beauty of human desire, the way we often cling, sometimes needlessly, to what is fleeting, and how wisdom grows from recognizing that beauty does not demand possession. The twilight deepens, and the first stars begin to appear, faint points of light that seem to twinkle knowingly, as if acknowledging the journey you have shared with the tale. The moon, now rising, casts a soft, silver glow across the landscape, washing everything in gentle, forgiving light. It feels as if the entire sky is breathing with you, inhaling and exhaling slowly, rhythmically, in concert with the legacy of love stories that have preceded and will follow you. Each star becomes a tiny beacon of hope, a reminder that the moments of genuine connection, no matter how brief, echo indefinitely, much like the rainbow that once spanned the sky and now lives in the quiet spaces of memory and reflection. You notice the faint scent of rain lingering in the earth, the delicate perfume of wet foliage mingling with the night air. It reminds you of Hinepūkohurangi's misty presence, the ephemeral yet unforgettable essence that lingers long after an encounter, shaping memory and perception in ways subtle and profound. You recognize that this is the true gift of the story, an invitation to engage with the world gently, to notice the fleeting beauty around you, to honor it, and then to release it without regret. Even as the rainbow has vanished, the teachings endure, threading through your thoughts like soft silver filaments, teaching you to find peace in observation, to cultivate patience, and to trust that love, when genuine, finds a way to persist, even when it is no longer visible to the eye. Finally, your pace slows to a crawl, your breath steady and rhythmic. You lie down on the grass, feeling its cool texture beneath you, your body sinking into the gentle contours of the earth. You let your gaze wander to the night sky, now clear and vast, a canvas of infinite depth. In this stillness, you absorb the essence of what you have witnessed, what you have imagined, what you have felt. That love, patience, loss, and reconciliation are threads in a vast tapestry, and that your own story is entwined with countless others, visible and invisible, in ways both profound and quiet. The whispers of the elders, the rainbow's lingering echo, and the memory of Hinepūkohurangi and Uenuku weave together into a gentle lullaby, each note a reminder that presence, even in absence, carries enduring significance. The night deepens further, and you feel the comforting embrace of calm seep into every fiber of your being. You allow yourself to release any lingering tension, any need to hold, any sense of urgency. The story has done its work. It has reminded you of the beauty of letting go, of trusting in cycles larger than yourself, of seeing love not as a chain, but as a melody that resonates through time and space. You whisper to yourself, softly, in rhythm with the pulse of the night, acknowledging that what is gone is still a part of you, and that the quiet moments, the fading lights, the ephemeral arcs of color all are invitations to gentle awareness, to gratitude, and to rest. The stars above continue their silent vigil as you close your eyes, feeling the subtle rhythm of the universe, slow and tender, like a lullaby sung across eons. The memory of colors, of devotion, of stories passed through generations, carries you gently towards sleep, wrapping you in a quiet warmth that needs no words, only presence, only breath, only the soft pulse of being. The final lesson settles like a whisper, that sometimes love fully we must release, allowing the sky, the mist, the rainbow, and our own hearts to find their own harmony. End of script. Sweet dreams.